Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is your host, Jennifer Nicole, and I want to welcome you back to another episode. We're on episode 26, the first official episode of 2021. Welcome to a brand new year, friends. You made it. Although it started a little ghetto and a little rough, I still have high hopes for this year, and I hope you do too. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being you and allowing me to rent space in your brain for like the next 20 minutes or so. I hope you had a great week. I hope this weekend has been good to you. I hope you've gotten some rest. I hope you've been able to process what you saw go down in DC on last Wednesday. Obviously, I try to stay positive on this podcast, so I'm not going to give that situation certain energy. I will just encourage you to process what you witnessed. I encourage you to look at everything objectively. Like if you're someone who, were very adamant about doubting white privilege, I challenge you to really look at this situation objectively. And honestly, just take the time to process what you saw, understand the feelings that you're feeling. I'm obviously not a psychiatrist, but I would imagine that what you're feeling, emotions, all of those things are very, very valid. And I encourage you to definitely tap into those, but to also allow it to be a reflection on what you will not tolerate in your life, right? I am not going to be frightened. I am not going to allow someone who thinks differently than me to dim my light. And so I encourage you to do the same, right? I think at the end of the day, there's always going to be more good than quote unquote evil. I don't want to call anybody evil, but I mean, and I'm actually giving this way more energy than I thought. I just challenge you to tap into your feelings, honor them, and then let's move forward as a group. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm choosing to live my life in a way that's reflective of peace and allowing others in that space to feel motivated, encouraged, and inspired. And that's how I'm choosing to live my life and kind of process what I saw. But yeah, I hope you still had a great week. I hope that you enjoyed yourself this weekend. I actually started to watch the show Bridgerton on Netflix, and I know I'm a little late to the party, but I finally had a minute to kind of sit down, because usually things that I know I'm going to binge or attempt to binge, I want like a clean house and food and snacks, and so I had to get right. And so anyway, I'm on episode 2. So far, so good. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that like I have to keep pushing through before it gets really good. Kind of like, oh gosh, I forgot the name. How could I forget the name of the show? I'll remember, and it'll be after I record this podcast, I'm sure. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those things that kind of catches up to me. I am really digging Your Honor right now. It's on Showtime, I think. Yeah, I'm like losing it. Maybe I need a sip of wine. I don't know. But if you have it, it's really good. And I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that, but that is one show that is really capturing my attention. So kind of getting back into my little binge mode of things. It's so crazy. After this road trip, I feel like I needed the week to kind of decompress from vacation. And so I've been able to do that this weekend, really cleaning, washing. I meal prepped, and I cannot tell you the last time that I meal prepped. I meal prepped, guys. So I am ready for the week. I've just been out of control with no kind of routine, eating out and doing all these things. And I just said, no resolutions, but I really wanted to get myself back into a routine that I seem to have nailed when I was, having to report into an office. But now that I'm working from home, I have to be way more intentional about my time. And there's that word again, I think I mentioned in the last episode, intentional and consistent were my words of the year. So they keep coming up. But anyway, yeah, so I'll let you know my thoughts on Bridgerton. I should be done probably like Tuesday, and I'll definitely let you know my thoughts on Your Honor. If you have not watched either one of those, definitely do it and tune in with me so that we could chat about this, because sometimes I just need yeah, I just got to bounce things off my head with other folks, you know? So let me know what your thoughts are. But anyway, I want to get into this week's episode topic because it's something that happened to me that actually got me thinking, and it sounded really simple, but I was like, you know what? I think this would be a really good podcast episode, especially since it's a new year. And so I titled it, I Wouldn't Do That If I Were You. And like I said, it was a situation which I'm about to share with you all that kind of sparked the title. It kind of sparked my thoughts and got me thinking. And so for as long as I could remember, whenever we traveled as a family, it was usually always for Christmas, and they were road trips. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background, my father and his sister lived in New Jersey. And then, of course, I was born, my sister was born, and my cousin Crystal was born in New Jersey as well. And so we lived less than 10 minutes away from each other. And so growing up, they were like everything. And then we would do these trips where the majority of my family lived in Alabama, Texas on my dad's side, and Florida for my mother. And so what we would do is every holiday we'd hop in the car. Usually they would rent, and we would drive down to Montgomery and spend a little time there with my dad's family, hop back in the car and drive to Florida and spend some time with my mom's family. Okay. And so, I mean, that was it. And I honestly believe like that is where my love for road trips came in. They would go all out. I mean, they would fry these little chicken wings and load up a cooler with all kinds of drinks and Capri Suns and, sunflower seeds. I mean, it was the best thing. And we would wake up super early and be on the road before I could wipe crust out of my eye. Okay. But because of this, I have always been accustomed to driving during the day. So my parents have always insisted if driving, it should be done during the day. If you're traveling, do it during the day. And they will argue us down. Anytime I've wanted to hop on the road to go anywhere, I would obviously tell my parents so that they knew I was on the road. But it was never even a discussion. Driving overnight, leaving in the afternoon. It was always leaving at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, driving all day, stopping if you need to, and just kind of going from there. So recently, when it was being decided, when my sister and I would hit the road to New Jersey for Christmas, the only option was to drive overnight. And that was because I was off, but my sister was not. And she didn't get off work until like 4:30. And then, of course, you could set a goal, but I figured we'd hit the road by 7 o'clock, meaning we'd have to drive overnight because I wasn't stopping. And I practically had a mini heart attack. And you can ask her. I was just like planning all of these things. Okay, if we stop here, I want to make sure that, one of us goes and the other one stays at the car. And then, I just had all these extravagant plans. I knew exactly like where I didn't want to stop, where I did want to stop, when I wanted to eat, because I was just terrified to drive overnight. And I'm laughing now, but like I wasn't laughing then. I was dead serious. And then I think it doesn't help that I watch all these like serial killer shows. So I swear there's like a serial killer driving an 18-wheeler at the exact stop where I'm going to be, at the exact rest stop that I'm going to be. So it's like all these crazy thoughts going through my head, but I digress. This caused me to really think about why I had such a problem driving overnight when I had never done it before. I had never done it. I've never driven overnight. I have always left early in the morning. And it just hit me hard that I had adopted my parents' way of thinking without challenging what I was seeing or being told. And it had kept me all these years from trying something different. And if you know me, I love a good road trip. I will hop in the car in a hot second before I fly anywhere. I mean, if it's decent. Like I'm not talking about driving to like, I don't know, the Bahamas, you get my drift. But it just hit me really hard how I had really, and of course it's not my parents' fault, right? I mean, you're taught whatever your parents are taught. So who knows? Like because I never met my grandparents. And so they could have been like, oh, only drive it during the day. And then that's all my parents knew. And then it didn't sound like a bad idea. So why question it? But I actually drove overnight and I loved it. Every single second of it. It was definitely something I would do again. But it caused me to wonder, how many times have we not done something based on someone else's warning? And someone else's fears being projected onto you can keep you from stepping out of your comfort zone. And now my example was pretty simple. I get it. It's a road trip. But think about how someone else's, I wouldn't do that if I were you, affected a decision that you made. Listening to others would have had me just in a bubble. Okay? Really, think about it. Listening to others would have kept me from trying a multitude of things, but I won't act like these moments aren't important, because sometimes they're good, right? It sometimes allows us to be able to really process what the decision that we're trying to make, right? Just because my parents said I wouldn't drive at night, the right thing for me to do would be to kind of, ask why. What are your reasons behind it? Or like, why not? Why did you have a bad experience on the road at night? Like, really digging deeper instead of just taking what I was being told as Bible, But again, I think sometimes if we are really, really excited about a big decision, like a road trip, for instance, I remember really, really good example when I was considering driving to Seattle. A really good friend of mine, who I used to work with at Google, he drove from Seattle to Austin. So he did the opposite drive. And so I was asking him, about the road, because I had never driven that way before. So, I was just trying to do my research. And he said to me, if you drive from Texas to Seattle, do not stop in Idaho. And in Boise, and I was like, what? Like this is random. Why? And he was white. And he just basically told me that they're racist out there and I wouldn't feel comfortable if you stopped there. So plan your drive without where you're either driving through Boise or where you're, just not there at night, basically. And so like those kinds of things, like I wouldn't do that if I were you in that case, was helpful, right? Like I want to know that kind of stuff because it's the reality. I have to know there are certain places in the US where I know I'm not welcome, And so, like those times, those moments are important because they help you to just have a second eye on things. But I want to share 3 reasons why and how to push past the I wouldn't do that if I were you crew. Okay? Because there are times where you definitely want to consider it, but there are other times where you really shouldn't. Okay? The first thing I want you to know is to consider the source. Everyone is not meant to understand or support every decision that you make. Some people will never understand why you do the things that you do, and that is okay. I remember when I first was thinking about moving to Seattle, folks who had never been there were telling me I wasn't going to like it. And while it was totally okay to listen, because there are people out there that genuinely care about you, right? It's important to consider the source. If the person who is offering their thoughts tend to be a bit scary Mary when making decisions, or they don't tend to try new things, or they don't really think outside of the box, why would you hold back from trying something new if that's in your nature, right? But I mean, people were just, you're going to hate Seattle. It's dark. It's this, it's that. And, granted, I moved. But at the same time, I tried for myself, right? I could say, okay, I tried it. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, y'all, it don't even rain as much as people think it does, okay? It rains, but not as much as people think it does. So it's like all of these things that I got to experience for myself. Now I can say, yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. Or I loved it. I think, and I personally don't regret anything. I think the year that I spent there was meant to be a part of my journey. I learned so much. I got to meet some really dope people that are going to be in my life forever. So I don't ever think anything is like a mistake. But yeah, think about considering the source. Where is it coming from? Okay. My second tip for you is be careful regarding who you're talking to. And so this kind of ties into the first one, but it's kind of separate too, right? So everyone is not rooting for you. You have to learn to move in silence sometimes. And I saw this post where, like, you don't have to move in silence if the people around you want to see you win. Yeah, that's true for the most part, which is why I'm telling you to pick one or two people to hold you accountable, or a proven member of your circle to share exciting updates, wins, and accountability posts with. Okay? But know that it is okay to share after the deed or the accomplishment has been achieved. So let's talk about this a little bit, okay? If I go to somebody and say, I'm thinking about moving to Las Vegas next year. First thing somebody could say is, again? Girl, you just moved. Why would you want to do that? They had a shooting out there. It's in the desert. It's hot. It's gross. It's nothing but casinos. Isn't prostitution legal? I mean, every single negative thing will come out of their mouth. And it'll get to the point where you're just like, well, maybe I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? But then if you have that one or two people, you really don't need that many, that know you well, that know to ask certain questions, then when they're asking you things, it's more to help you dig deeper into the decision that you're potentially making versus trying to back you into a corner into doing something that they just wouldn't do. So know the difference, right? I know that when I talk to some of my friends and I'm saying, you know what, this is the week that I'm going to really do it. I'm going to drink all water this week. This is a real conversation, by the way. I'm not talking to somebody who is a negative Nancy. I'm not going to be talking to someone that says, girl, please, you've been doing this for 8 years. You still ain't get it right. I mean, when are you going to da-da-da-da-da? I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would just do whatever I want and just live my best life. Or you can have an accountability partner, someone who is excited for your revelation, but also very clear that maybe they don't want to see you disappointed again. So they're going to ask you certain questions. So what can I do to support you this time? What do you need from me to make sure that I hold you accountable? So listen to the questions. And that to me is helpful when deciding who is really rooting for me and who isn't, because the questions that they ask, the statements that they make are going to be in your best interest. And you'll know, because you won't feel such a confliction, when you're speaking to them. You'll feel uplifted, you'll feel motivated, you'll feel closer to your goal. And so kind of keep all of that in mind when you're speaking to people. My last tip for you is don't overthink, okay? Don't overthink it. Sometimes when we're pulling others into a decision that we want to make, we already know what we want. All right. Like when I go and ask Alyssa which cupcake she wants, I already know which one I don't want her to choose. Okay. So in that case, it's no point in overthinking it. I'm going to tell her which cupcake. Go ahead and take that one because I want this one. Okay. Half the time you already know what you want, but you're seeking validation and or approval, whether subconsciously or consciously. I don't want to offend anybody, but I am thinking about coloring my hair a certain color. I might ask my sister and two of my friends, what do you think about this color on me? Because I need to get, an opinion. But at the same time, at the end of the day, have to still make that decision. And so if you are asking someone for questions, again, I tie it back into my second tip. Make sure it's someone who is rooting for you and doesn't want you out here looking crazy. Okay? What ends up happening when you involve too many people in a decision is it starts to muddy your vision and it'll muddy up your goals. This is why journaling and really investing in your vision will not allow anyone to come in and take you off your game. You'll know what's for you when it comes because you will experience peace and see signs of confirmation of things that you've already been journaling and things that you've already been investing to. So technically, if you do get the support from any outside source, it can serve as confirmation, but you already know what the vision was. Y'all following me? I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. I've been wanting to say that for so long. Anyway, the important thing here is to remember When someone says, I wouldn't do that if I were you, just remember they aren't you. So the problem is solved, okay? It's all right. Doing what's best for you should always be a priority. And I talk about this on the show all the time. But it's like, if you don't know what that means, really figure out what you want. You have to live authentically true to you. You have to make sure that you're kind. I don't know. I still don't understand why that's such a hard concept. Be kind, be nice, be humble, and strive to be a better person than you were the day before. And if you can do all of those things, then you are winning. You're winning. Whether you're winning in Tulum or winning in Idaho, winning in New York, winning in Atlanta, if you can nail those things of living authentically true to you, being kind to others, and striving to be a better person than you were the day before, then you are winning. Okay? Short and sweet. Y'all like that? I hope you did. I hope it helps you in some kind of way as we begin to journey into this new year, and as we're writing this new chapter of our books, the book of life, our lives. I hope that helped you. I feel like I talked your ear off, but I had a lot to say today. I want you to know that if no one else is proud of you, please take a moment to acknowledge your wins. Whether big or small, acknowledge them. I'm proud of you. Other Genuine Life listeners are proud of you. You've literally been doing it, okay? And you're going to continue to do it, whether it's opening a business, getting healthier, spending time, really managing your mental and emotional health. You're doing it. You got this. And I'm proud of you. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as usual. Don't forget, if you share that you're listening to any episode of the Genuine Life podcast, don't forget to tag me on Instagram so I can show you some love. And if sharing isn't your thing, which I kind of still don't understand that part, but that's cool though, okay? I got something for you to do. Just go ahead and rate. Leave me a little, comment or leave a review. You could do that, okay? Also, don't forget to shoot me a text so that you can join the Genuine Life text family. And until next time, friends, remember to stay encouraged. Make sure you journal. And you're amazing. Toodles.